Backstory time. Kerbal Space Program is a good game. If you've never heard of it, I would definitely recommend it. Kerbal Space Program 2 is not a good game. I would definitely not recommend it. It was almost a good game. With the 4 Science update, it genuinely made some marked improvements over KSP1 Science mode, adding a storyline and a more logical and challenging tech tree to progress through. Its early access saw lots of updates and promises, and then everything stopped. The devs were fired, the IP was sold, and that was that. The game was never finished and likely never will be. But hey, at least we got these ugly as sin plushies that completely miss the point and don't even have open eyes. You know, the thing that gives Kerbals their iconic look? I bought them so I can review them so you don't have to and won't feel FOMO when I trash them on camera. Anyways, all of this is to say that KSP never really got a sequel. There are games like it, like Juno New Origins, but they never really captured the same spirit as KSP or saw the same levels of success. Enter Werkz. Led by Dean Hall, this company was one of the studios that submitted bids to develop KSP2 way back when Take-Two first started the project, but they lost the contract to Star Theory, who later lost it to Intercept Games. It's a long story, I'm not going to cover it here. But rather than moving on, Werkz decided
if they want war, we'll give them war.
And decided to make their own KSP successor anyway. After KSP2 crashed and burned as it did, from the ashes, Werkz announced that they were working on Kitten Space Agency, their answer to a successor to Kerbal Space Program. And this wasn't going to be a Unity-powered bodge-job of the original KSP spaghetti code. It would be powered by an entirely custom engine with realistic graphics and physics, and it's super scalable. And last week, they released a pre-alpha. And because I'm a celebrity, I was able to get my hands on a copy. And in this video, I will talk about my thoughts on things so far. We start off with a screen that lets us choose a universe: the solar system, Earth and Moon, or Earth only. Let's just jump straight to the solar system. And yes, it is the solar system, as in the Sol star, aka where we live in real life. It's not exact one-to-one, obviously, because like in real life, Jupiter has 97 moons, and yeah, that's frankly too much. But speaking of, some people might be disappointed that we don't have a custom system like KSP's Kerbal system, or, I don't know, the exceptionally creative system in Outer Wilds, with crazy planets like Giants Deep and Dark. But the point is, worry not. The Sol system is here right now as a placeholder, and Kitten Space Agency will indeed have a custom system. I mean, I have cats and I live in the real solar system, and I don't have a lot of faith that they could run a space agency. The reasoning behind using the Sol system for now is to ensure that mods like RSS, whatever that is, work easily, as well as let the team check their math, since it can be checked against known real-life values. It's also a good stress test for performance and all that jazz. The final KSA system is planned to be around 2.5 times the size of Kerbal Space Program scale, and KSP's scale is about 1/8 the size of the real world. To give you an idea, Jool, the biggest planet in the game, is about the size of Earth. I asked Dean Hall if the team had any ideas for the planets and moons that will go into the final system, and he replied that we'll see world stuff reasonably soon once Lynx, has got the initial suite of planet authoring tools in. But I haven't talked about the gameplay of this pre-alpha yet. The UI has most of the things found in KSP's UI, though we are obviously very early days, and the UI's design hasn't really been a priority. Right now it is 100% function, they'll add the form later on. And that's the case for a lot of what we see in this build. Most of the work put in so far has been what I can't show you, because it's things like the engine, getting the physics working, and building all of the foundations onto which KSA will be built. Right now we can't build anything. We have 2 vessels that are spawned in low Earth orbit, an Apollo command module, and a Gemini capsule. The latter doesn't really have any main engine, so I'll be mostly just flying the Apollo CSM for this video. It has an absolutely insane Delta V level, like it can probably do a full system grand tour before it runs out of fuel, but again, this is for testing only. I have had it confirmed from Dean that the engines won't be this crazy efficient once the final parts are made available. Again, this release is all about being able to test the game engine rather than the game's engines. That sentence is either brilliant or awful. But the devs need to be able to zip around to test things like movement, so they made this ship very, 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 very powerful. According to Dean, the next major milestone is ship parts, so we can expect that soon. When they arrive, I'm told that on its surface, building vessels will be similar to KSP's approach of building ships Lego style, with basic parts like command modules and fuel tanks. But for power users, many of the individual parts can be customized further. Each part is made from sub-parts, shown in this diagram of the in-game Gemini model, and if you want, you can make your own versions of full parts using these sub-parts. I might not be describing this too well because I haven't seen or heard how exactly this will work, but it sounds like we have a lot more customization options than we did in KSP. So yeah, I think for the actual gameplay, I'll cut to live map for a bit so I can show you stuff in real time. So I'll hand you over to live map briefly. Okay, thank you, Editor Matt. So here we are in the start screen of KSA, which is obviously very bare bones. We can select our system. Of course, we've got to select the solar system, right? It's just loading. Oh, speaking of graphics, by the way, if you could read that tiny text, I have everything set to the maximum. I have a 90-degree field of view as well. And yeah, it seems to run pretty smoothly. I get an average of about between 70 and 100 FPS. I'm obviously running this at 4K, maximum FPS of 144 Hz. My PC specs are in the description if you want to read those. Important bits are it's got an RTX 4090, and I want to say a Ryzen 5950. I can't even remember how they name their CPUs, but it's a pretty decent CPU. It's in the description. Anyway, that's not important right now. What is important is what's on screen, which is the Apollo vehicle. Technically, this is just called Rocket, so I'll just be calling it Rocket from now on, but it's clearly modeled after the Apollo CSM. But yeah, before we start getting bogged down with this one, we can switch to the other vessel using the square bracket key, which is conveniently the same button that's used in KSP, and we can time warp to the day so you can get a good look at the Gemini vehicle, and the time warp buttons are the same as KSP as well, so full stop and comma. But we have two other tiers, so that was obviously time warp forward. We can time warp, not backward, but we can slow time down. So now we're at 0.1 times normal speed, and we can pause the simulation completely. So that's great. So let's put things back to normal speed. There we are. I don't really have a lot to say about this Gemini. We have RCS. So the RCS controls are the same as KSP. So you can do I, J, K, and L in place of WASD, and H and N go forwards and backwards. And we can also do auto SAS. So let's point it, I don't know, radial out. And it goes ahead and just does its thing. But this thing doesn't have any kind of main engines of its own, so it doesn't really go anywhere fast. So, yeah, nice looking Gemini, but we won't really be spending too much time with it. We'll switch back to Rocket. There we are. And yeah, look at the ground, or I guess the ocean underneath us. The beautiful Earth there. I really hope I don't call it Kerbin at any point during this video. I might have already done that, and then I just didn't notice because I was doing it live and I just did a verbal typo. So apologies if I do, but you know. There, we've got some lovely clouds down there, volumetric clouds I might add, courtesy of BlackRack, obviously the wizard that created the volumetric clouds mod of KSP1 and was briefly in charge of making KSP2 look much better, which he succeeded in before obviously all of that happened. So yeah, looking lovely there. And yeah, we can throttle the engine by pressing space. There we go. And well, that's all I have to say about that, really. Over here, oh, by the way, I should mention before I forget, everything is fully customizable. So we can see our insane levels of delta V. Yeah, it's crazy. And we've got our propellant up here. I'll try and make it a bit more kind of similar to KSP's UI so you can quickly assimilate things. So there we are. And make the nav ball a little bit bigger. There. Can I not make it bigger? I'm pretty sure I made it bigger at one point. Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can resize the nav ball. Why can't I? Anyway, speaking of the nav ball, we can set it to things like, relative to the surface of a celestial body versus orbit, and etc., like you can in KSP. I think I've already covered these things here, haven't I? So we can go to the map screen. Conveniently, again, same button as KSP, just M. There we are. So we've got our two vessels here. One of them is the Gemini. One of them is Rocket. And we can zoom out on the map screen. There's Luna. Really hope I don't call it Mon in this video. We can keep zooming out and we have the full solar system. But what's crazy is we can zoom out even more, which means that potentially, I guess, there's scope for other solar systems to be dotted around, i.e. interstellar, at some point. I don't know if interstellar was ever confirmed, but the fact that we can zoom out this far would suggest that there might be some scope for it. Anyway, and it's kind of similar kind of controls to KSP's map screen, so we can just double click on something to switch our view to it. We'll just zoom in. So there's Mars, Phobos, and Deimos. Lovely, lovely stuff there. We'll go and visit it in-game at some point in this video. Again, we've got Jupiter over here. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the video that you're watching now. So there it is. Along with some of its moons. I think it's got like 10 in this game. I think there's like 5 here. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. And, I can't bother to count it. But yeah, some more. Less than 97, which is what the number is as of this video going live. So August 2025. Where's Earth? There it is. So it's got the blue line to conveniently help us find it in this sea of a map screen. And yeah, so one thing that this game has that KSP does not have that's quite cool is we can press F3 and we have ground tracking. Look at that. And again, we can kind of resize this. But isn't that cool? So it shows your like position relative to the ground, and even got that little day-night thing. great description there. You can tell this part of the video is live, right? Because it's so suddenly way worse. Anyway, if we can go to the map screen, I have seen a couple of other people's videos, and people have said that you can't control your rocket from the map screen, which is not actually true. You can control it, but not by default. So I'm pressing the spacebar button now. Nothing is happening. If we press tab, we have the controls again. And if I hold down spacebar now, we can raise our apoapsis. So yeah, any fellow industry people that have this and want to know how to control from the map screen, that's how you do it. Let's time warp around and raise rockets. I'm still pointing the wrong way. Hang on. wait. I need to point. What's up? I forgot. Wait, that's velocity. Wait, how do I? Am I pointing? Oh yeah, I am. I just completely forgot how everything works. Like, let's point prograde. Yep, that looks better. There we are. No, I could use this as an opportunity to showcase that. Look, it has a little impact indicator, which is very helpful. There we are. It's like a roughly circular orbit, doesn't it? So, yeah, that's that. One other thing that this game has that's really, really great is if I press F4, we have a transfer planner. Can I make that bigger? No, I can't make the text bigger, unfortunately. Again, UI is very much function at the moment. Form will come later, so things like text scaling should be better, and you can kind of see it. You haven't got to squint your eyes to see what I'm doing, but if I just move this close to the middle, we select our source vehicle, which is Rocket. I really struggled figuring this out before. I was like, why is it not working? Because it was set to the Gemini vehicle, and I was like, so it wasn't applying any of my transfer planning to the current one, so a word of warning there. So yeah, we're going to set our vehicle as a rocket. Our destination we'll put as the moon, or in this case it's called Luna. Set it as our target, and yeah, we've got these ascending node. I think that's the ascending node and descending node, isn't it? And rather than having to now plot out a maneuver plan, which I'll show you actually, we can create a maneuver node. Very similar sort of maneuver node planner to KSP. So we got our prograde, retrograde markers. There we go, look at that. And obviously we got, you know, normal, anti-normal, radial in, radial out. I believe this is well, I don't know, but I'm assuming this is a placeholder graphic, and they'll put a nice one in. Again, down the line. Right now, it's all about just getting the foundations in place, right? So we could make a maneuver mode like that, but I'm going to press F4 again and make sure everything is still in place. And then press calculate. It's calculated it. Now we're going to press create. It has created a maneuver plan for us. It's putting us on a collision course, but yeah, we can adjust that. But there we are. How cool is that? And we go back to the main screen. Oh, I can't actually see the rocket. Hang on. Let's just time warp. I might miss the burn actually, so that's well, I don't really care about missing the burn because I just want to showcase the thing. There we are. It's not really about, you know, the what's it called? The gameplay itself at this point. I think it's more about just showcasing what you can do. So we've got the accurate physics. Yeah, great. Now, I don't think, and this might be a mistake actually, I don't think I've actually executed a maneuver burn before in KSA. So this is going to be interesting to see if it actually works. So let's see. I was like, you know what? I'll just do it live and we'll figure it out. So let's see. We've got 20 days until the burn. I've just cut to the map screen because I didn't want to give anyone like an epileptic seizure if you're photosensitive epileptic. So that's why I've gone here. Now this is actually quite a long process. So perhaps if we had done a manual a manual maneuver node. We could have got an encounter a bit sooner. I'm not sure. I just wanted to showcase the transfer planner, really. So no longer will you have to eyeball, draw a line from Kirby into the sun to Juna. I know that's a different game, but, just saying. Now, oh, look at that. It's counting now. We're now in the seconds rather than the weeks. So 2,000 seconds, 1,500 seconds, 1,000 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 9 seconds, 80 seconds, 70 seconds, 60 seconds, 50 seconds, 40 seconds. Okay, it's a little bit anticlimactic. This is me shouting about the bird, isn't it? So we should be pointing the right way. Positive. I think that's correct, isn't it? Should we just manually... And look at that! I'm not actually doing anything. The game is just doing the burn for me. Which is nice. Now, can I time... Yes, we can do physics time up. Great stuff. Now, I hope the game kills the velocity... And look at that! It cut the throttle for us as well. So we not only have a transfer planner, but also the game just does the burning for you. Now, I think we can do manual burning, but whatever. It's not important. So what I want to showcase now, as we time warp... Actually, we're on an impact course, aren't we? So there goes Rocket! Let's double-click Luna so we can view it. Now, one thing, do you remember when KSP2 came out and the maneuver node maker didn't work because the line passed the next celestial body where it didn't exist, basically. But now, look, it works and we can plot maneuvers on it. How great is that? I don't want to do this, so I'll delete this bird. But now, I don't think, and again, I'm not... Oh no, it paused. I was like, oh no, did I... So I got a bit trigger happy with time warp, and I think I might have just broken the game. Oh, whoops. Oh, the game crashed. Well, that's probably my fault. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that, everyone. So yeah, collision and all that hasn't really been added yet, so I don't think the game really knew what to do when I impacted the moon at goodness knows what kind of speed. So yeah, I'm not going to hold anything against the game there. Rather than do the burn to get back there, we actually have an inbuilt teleporter system. It's kind of buried in this debug menu. Show set orbit debug, I believe. Yes, so we'll go to... rather than going to the moon... Actually, let's go to Mars. So then we just go set orbit. And we're on the dark side, so let's quickly time warp down. Or time warp across. There we are! It is the daytime! Great stuff. So let's go retrograde. That's the word I was looking for. And just... oh, hang on, got simulation paused. I was like, oh no, it's not working. So... Oh, we've already got an impact. Nice. Let's just set this then to surface. And I almost did the same thing again. So here we are coming down. And again, KSA is doing this thing where it's like a seamless transition. So rather than loading like a... let me turn my volume down because it's very loud. I don't want you guys to get like... what's the word? Reverb there. So yeah, so the terrain kind of comes into detail seamlessly. Unlike KSP, which can sometimes be a bit of a jump. I'm still holding retrograde, right? Yeah. Oh, simulation paused. I've left this way too late. Oh, but there we are. So as you can see, the ground is still very much a work in progress, right? But you can see the similarities with Lynx's parallax again, because Lynx is working on parallax with this game. But yeah, as you can see, the atmospheric drag is basically non-existent, although that being said, Mars's atmosphere is very thin. But yeah, like I say, this sort of stuff hasn't really been added to the game just yet. I don't even want to really call this a game necessarily because, you know, it's the physics engine. They've got all the blocks in place to build out the game, I guess. So that's the showcase of Mars, and there's much more to add there. Let's go to... I'll tell you what I can show you. I've not tried this yet, but we can experience this together. So I have to show physics debug. We can teleport to some site. We can teleport to Apollo 11 landing site. I was kind of hoping there'd be an Apollo lander. I don't know why, because that's obviously that's not the goal yet. They're not adding vehicles yet, but there we are. We have the Apollo landing site here. And, you know, we've sort of landed it with an Apollo vehicle, right? and teleport to Launch Complex 39A. Look at that. Just lift off. Look at that. We are launching from Launch Complex 39A. Geographically, that's where it is. Like, you know, it's not here because there's no buildings. Hey, isn't that cool? Anyway, I think we'll leave the live portion of the video here and go back to editor Matt. So that's Kitten Space Agency's pre-alpha. It's obviously very early, too early really, to pass judgment, as it's not really a game yet, it's just the foundations. But these foundations are solid, they're made of solid concrete, unlike KSP2's foundations, which were made of yogurt, and a primary reason the game failed. I'm therefore extremely happy with what I've seen so far, and I can't wait to see the game side start being built on top of this very solid core. I asked Dean if he had any interesting tidbits of information to share, or anything he thought I ought to mention that might not be an immediately obviously mentionable thing to say, and his answer, which I'm going to read almost verbatim, was basically that at the moment they're fairly boring. They are focused on the boring stuff, the foundation, the physics layers, but I hope that you can already see why a boring focus gives dividends. For example, the custom physics approach means that they can run things at scale with collection detections even at great warps. A lot of the interesting stuff flows from how they've been able to completely separate the simulation from the rendering, and the simulation is done in such a way that they can scale it, which basically means that the game world and physics and all that work separately from the graphics, and the game is built in a way that it can handle very small and very huge game worlds depending on what they need. Dean also advised that I could pass in a discussion of immediate mode rendering. That is, the game renders each frame independently. This cuts to the core of their goal of seamlessness. Typically, game engines will use render components and such that results in you having to load when you cross certain boundaries. KSA doesn't have that. It renders each frame independently. You could be looking at a vessel around Mars in one frame and a vessel around Saturn the next. Now in reality, it's not fully immediate, but also not fully retained. It's somewhere in between, so a planet or a vessel renders itself in relation to something else. This allows the developers to get maximum value out of any positions. Furthermore, this is kind of weird sounding, but the camera is always positioned at 0, 0, 0. So everything is drawn relative to the camera, pushing floating point imprecision out to infinity, something that really troubled KSP 1 and 2, since this isn't really something that's realistically possible with a game engine like Unreal or Unity, the latter of which powered KSP 1 and 2. Kitten Space Agency started out with kittens being a placeholder, but it's increasingly becoming more and more set in stone, and when I asked if this was the case, Dean did say that nothing is 100%, but yeah, kittens are basically here to stay, which, you know, personally I'm not a huge fan of. I would have preferred either chibi-style humans like in Animal Crossing, or, you know, goofy aliens like the Kerbals, but ultimately, if the game is solid, then I think we should be able to adjust over to kittens. I was a bit concerned when this thing popped up on Reddit, since I mean, this doesn't work for me at all. It's very uncanny valley and weird looking. However, Dean clarified that this is really just to demonstrate the animation of the movement. The actual look of the cat will mercifully be very different. It's still being worked on, particularly the 3D fur. So this is probably the final animation, but not the final look. So, them's my thoughts on Kitten Space Agency pre-alpha. What are your thoughts? Are you excited to play this game when it's eventually done? Is there anything you think I missed when talking about it? If there is anything, then ask away and I'll try my best to answer. Right in the comments below, I mean. Although I can't talk about anything else behind the scenes, as everything I know was put into this video's script. And I'm not under any kind of embargo or NDA for Kitten Space Agency, or KSP1 or KSP2 for the record, so I can be as transparent as I want to be. It's going to be a very long time before KSA releases, so for the foreseeable future, I'll continue with KSP1, which of course is still an amazing game. Last Saturday, I launched a gigantic space station and lander to Duna, as I continued working on establishing a permanent self-sustaining colony on the Red Planet. If you haven't seen the video yet, then check it out via that link on screen, and of course, huge thanks to my supporters on the right there who make all of this content possible. But that's it for today's KSA video. Hopefully I'll be doing more in the future at some point. I do hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll catch you in the next one, whenever that may be.